I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Good morning, everyone. This is a special meeting to meet with Twin Shores, to try to answer questions, to try to get a better understanding of what you're trying to do and how you're trying to do it. Floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just bring, I guess, everyone up to date. My name is Tom Serio. Everyone here knows Dave Newman from Twin Shores. We have, I think for the first time, everyone's meeting this fine gentleman, right? I'm not sure if anyone has met him yet, but he is a partner with Twin Shores. And wanted to be here to make sure that all questions could be answered. Twin Shores is now the owner of this subject property. We actually closed October, the end of October. So we own the property in fee simple. Also here is Gordon Stanbury, our traffic engineer, and Shane O'Connor from TDK. Joe Durant might be on the phone, but Shane is the head senior engineer there and can answer any specific questions. I think the first thing that maybe we should get right into is the overlay maps. I think that maybe everybody got what we brought copies to show the subdivision, because I think that was a
So first of all, thank you for taking the time to give us the opportunity to sort of clarify and explain what it is we're trying to do. We know there's been a lot of plans, a lot of talk, and we just want to sort of make it clear what it is we're looking to do. John Charters.
John, thank you.
So we're asking for two things, right? One is a subdivision plan approval, and two is site plan approval for the small commercial lots that I'll show in a minute. Okay. First, it might be helpful to go through the boundary plans, right? And what it is, we're at the subdivision plan, and explain what's going on with each lot. I know there's also a lot of questions. I know there's people making phone calls to some of you people, asking for information and that sort of thing. And it's like, you know, probably wondering who is everybody that's doing all this. So if everybody can see this, I thought it was easier to sort of point to things. Jane, if you want to come up here too, Jane will make sure I am accurate. Okay. We're dividing up into parcels, and the parcel lines, except for the CA, match the new zoning lines. You have, these are all things that were submitted, right? So this is existing.
Yeah, but not everyone's looking at the same thing.
Yeah, that's it.
So
Yes. The previous package had the combined subdivision plan. There would have been a single sheet. Yeah.
We were asked to put together 3 sheets. This is the existing, okay, subdivision plan. This is what we're proposing, and then we were asked to compare on the same plan. Let me just take this one. David has in this.
So if that was the plan that was just turned in this week, then we have.
Okay, all right.
Also, sheet 3.
Electronically?
Sheet 3 would have been in the last package.
When we were the last meeting, right? We were asked to put together a plan that showed existing versus proposed. That was in your package.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And that's the one we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but what I thought I'd do to help first explain sort of the logic behind why we're doing the parcels and the boundaries and the redevelopment. That might be helpful if people want me to do that. Okay. Guys, okay, so these are the plans we're going to talk about. The large parcel, which ties to the R5 zoning, right, is this parcel here. So everybody got that? It's this parcel here.
Yeah.
Okay. It's this parcel here. Okay.
Parcel numbers.
Shane. Parcel number 6, right?
Correct.
Okay, so that's the multifamily parcel,
R5, yeah.
right? That's all the R5 that was rezoned. It's all in one parcel.
It's not
What-
written on here, right?
What they're looking
Yeah,
at.
we know.
We know
I got it, I got it.
He's looking at this.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay,
Alright.
so that's, there you go, right? That's the same one. We knew part of the problem was that so much plan. Why, and so that's the R5, that's what we call the multifamily. And the reason that's carved out separately is, I think, as we've said since the beginning, we didn't plan to develop that multifamily ourselves. We are under contract with somebody now to sell it. There is a separate third-party developer. Now that we own the land, we've contracted, and a separate third-party developer is going to develop that. So at some point, after they've done their due diligence and, you know, talk to folks and know what they're going to do, they're going to come in with plans and have to go through the process to get that approved.
Now, I've got a question right off.
Okay,
Doug, on the R5, aren't we limited to 10 acres?
Yes, you need, yes, yes.
No, max.
Maximum 10, and I believe minimum 5, right?
I believe that's what it is, yes.
So how are we dealing with that?
because our expectation is, when a new developer comes in with a plan, they will give you a subdivision plan for that. And the reason we couldn't do it is because we don't know how they're gonna lay out the buildings. And they gotta comply with the 5 to 10 acres, right? So if they want to do multiple buildings in that, they will need to carve it up differently. What we didn't want to do was give you a plan that carved up that 55 acres in a way when we knew that somebody else that came in is going to carve it up differently. It's like we bought the land from Fietta. It had different parcels on it. We had to come through, rezone and carve it differently for our development.
Can you give us a rough idea of how many units that you believe they're gonna be intended to put in there?
So what we did back in July, as part of our due diligence for the project, we've done traffic for the whole site, just so we get an idea of what might or might not fit. We've done wetlands delineation, done wetlands flagging, we've done, we've done phase 1, phase 2 environmental studies. We've done a ton of work on the whole site so that we could figure out roughly what would fit. And I think what we came in July, and again, we were asked by some people to show you roughly what it would be. And at the time we showed you a plan that I think it was plus or minus 300 units.
And that's what Tom had always told us.
Yeah,
Right.
and that,
And that's right, but the question is, what are they gonna do?
well, you know what?
We don't know.
They're gonna come in, and if they come in and go to the ridiculous extreme and say they're gonna build a lot more than that doesn't fit, then.
You guys are gonna tell them they can't.
Yeah, I mean,
And by the
they've
way, just to answer that question, why that's not split up, in addition to what John said, that was a condition of our zone change that we make each zone fit the boundaries.
Okay,
That's why that's like that. But and more correctly, what John said, when they want to put their buildings on it, they're gonna do the subdivision for that parcel.
okay.
I just want to make sure that we have the correct zoning. I'd like to see the zoning map and overlaid on this, right? Is that what you've got?
it's got a zoning map, it's not overlaid.
I think the bigger question is, right now we have 6 parcels. And the last time you were in, you were asked to come back with a subdivision map. That's the current zone. Yeah. Because that's the first step is to do that. That's it. A subdivision.
We're looking at this direction. This one.
No, the same direction.
Same direction, okay.
So this, the orange R5 is basically the.
Here's the, you've also got the zoning.
And the green RA is portion 7. And the balance here is the same reason they can come back.
So am I understanding this right? That, that property, that's gonna be sold
Yeah.
Purchaser.
Yeah,
It's going to come back to us
100%.
and then suppose. Multifamily.
It's kind of like the Fiesta, you know, we had Fiesta under contract. We came through and we're talking to the board about what we wanted to do. We then closed and owned it. And I think we've been pretty clear, and I think John's been clear that, you know, we're not big multifamily developers, and there's lots of folks around here that are. And so and the reason, one of the things that was helpful to us to have to answer your question in July about how many units and how all the traffic and everything else works is it gave us the ability to do some due diligence and hopefully make the process of closing with some new developer quicker, that we were able to provide them with a lot of basic data.
Is it, just out of curiosity, is it an option that you have with the developer
But now
for
they're gonna-
purchase?
The purchase contract.
Yeah.
It is a purchase.
It's a purchase contract.
And I'm assuming it's probably contingent on.
Contingent on approval from our subdivision and them doing their due diligence.
Okay. All right. And I. This is a little bit away from what we're talking about right now, but in my mind, it's very important.
Yeah.
Have there been discussions with the Corps about that, an agreement for that traffic signal?
Okay, so here's where we're at with that. Jumping.
We're listening.
No, okay, I didn't, okay, so jumping ahead to that,
Yes.
Tom, you want to say your specific conversation you had, or you
Sure,
want me to do it?
So to answer your question, is there an agreement? Like, no, there's no written agreement, but I had a conversation with Jeff Aiello. Jeff and I have been friends a long time. We were meeting for lunch unrelated to this project. He in fact brought it up that, hey, how's it going over there? I heard you guys are closing soon. I said, yeah, that's true. In fact, the traffic light that we got approval from DOT is gonna go right where you guys said you wanted it. He said, boy, that's great. I said, do you have any problem with it? He said, no, sounds good. He goes, that's where we wanted it anyway. That was it. Then we met with DOT.
Yeah.
DOT said, because we asked them, do you want us to get anything? They said, no, you don't need it. Nothing's on their property, so you don't need an agreement with anybody. Everything's on your property and the county property. Village of Fayetteville said we don't need it. The town said we didn't need it. So is there?
Meeting with the DOT then, the party boss, I mean.
Correct.
He's in agreement that this light is already approved,
Oh, yeah.
and that, who's responsible for putting that in?
Well, just to be clear, if you want to talk about a little history, Corps was responsible for putting it in,
Okay,
and they never did.
right.
They were supposed to pay for it and put it in. I mean, look, no one's trying to point fingers.
We're paying for it, we're doing it, it's on our property, or it's there,
Right.
it's in the public right of way or our property. And we specifically, so we're all right.
We are doing it.
Okay, the
Okay,
reason I jumped ahead is
Yeah.
because what that
So-
document from your traffic engineer states.
so this is, yeah, this is,
I can clarify that
Yeah.
a little bit. I can make it a little bit easier. Sure.
towards the traffic. engineer.
Okay.
That initial comment letter was when we were looking at the signal being in driveway.
Right, this is from
That
June.
was under.
Got it.
Okay.
And county DOT came back and said, we don't want the signal there, we want it at the original spot that it was approved, which was down.
Where it is on showing on our map.
So that's why they were concerned about coordination with Core at the time, because we had proposed a different location. Now that we're proposing it where Core designed it, we don't need anything from Core because it's in the public right of way.
Okay, so then, so there's no written agreement that's necessary.
That's
And the reason that was important to me, and I wanted to get that, is because we can't approve the site plan unless we know that you got the traffic signal.
Right. Yeah,
correct.
correct.
Everything being in the right of way, it's a purely between us and the county.
And we went, obviously, you know, you got another letter from the county. We went to the planning board of the county and they approved everything. They sent in a letter on it. So, you know, well, obviously, there's permits after this entitlement, phase, but, you know, that's what we talked about.
Okay, all right.
So,
Sorry to jump ahead, but I was just, it's been on my mind. for-
we knew that was on the list.
Okay.
Rich, I didn't know you had any concern.
Um,
Never mentioned it.
So that's that parcel. Right, and then there's the RA parcel. Right, which is in,
The 62.24.
yeah, which is on the back here.
Right.
So
And that-
it goes all the way from here, here
Correct.
to
There,
here.
yeah,
And that corresponds to the green shading on the zoning map.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
and so what is that and why is that? Why do we need that carved out? Well, because that's where Limestone Creek is, right? And so we carved out again through our due diligence, sort of determined where we thought it made sense for potential multifamily development, open space, and all that sort of thing. And so what we've done is carve that out, and again, what are we doing with that? We've been talking to state, county, village, and town about what we could do with that. Where, could we sell it, give it, donate it, conservation? We don't know where that's gonna end up yet, because somebody want to do some recreational uses on there, meaning a municipality, we're not talking about selling it to some third party person to do whatever. So that's why that's carved out that way. Okay,
Crazy little. Yeah, I was just gonna ask the same question. This little parcel right here is owned by the village. Have you had any conversations with them about doing something with that?
Yes.
Acquire that?
Yes,
Isn't it going anywhere?
it will. It hasn't yet because it's premature, but it will. We're concentrating on the sidewalk agreement first. And the village has indicated that, yes, they would take that
Okay.
and surrounding.
Sidewalk agreement.
So it won't be-
Agreement you're looking at.
I just want to be clear about what conversations are important to the village.
Yeah.
Right? That,
And your sidewalk agreement, I haven't heard about this before. This is a new one.
Yeah.
Is this gonna be along the east side of Burke Street?
well, yeah, the east side, yeah. For the connectivity part. guys.
Okay.
our side.
That's
Kind of these are things
Out there.
Which parcel?
There is a very small.
Yeah.
Place over. Owned by the.
Yeah, it's just randomly done.
And we're gonna do, based upon Rich's, last time, we're gonna make you like a 25-year.
Great.
For it,
Okay.
which they're okay with. I mean, I talked to the mayor several times about it.
Yeah.
I'm ready to roll.
Okay.
So that,
Yeah,
so that's that parcel.
It's important.
Yeah.
You're on the ball on it all.
Okay. Then. Parcel, going backwards way here, but I'm looking at tell you. Parcel 5, right, is what we call the office / municipal tract.
It's parcel 5, yep.
Yeah, okay,
Which is zone
which is part of CA.
part of C.
And you may remember that when we came in here back in July and had our plan, and we showed land, a development in here.
Yeah, right.
That went over to a different zoning
Yeah,
designation. You gave us some guidance and said, man, not a great idea.
Did I say that?
I used the man. We're nicer, but, so that all ties together. So what's going on there? It's potentially an office building. It's put, as you know, we talked to the town about doing an office, the municipal building a couple of years ago. The town did a search and said they wanted to put the office building.
Originally up here.
Up here, yeah, up here, and then the idea was, well, let's move it down closer to here, right? And then the town decided to look at other options, I'll say. And then we've sort of rekindled these discussions. Nothing's done. There's discussions. We've been trying to be flexible since the beginning of the project. We would love to see that happen.
yeah, there's been open communications,
Yeah,
probably on a monthly basis with the town for that.
Yep. And is Twin Shores gonna retain this one, or are you putting that one out?
so So that we don't know what the structure of the deal would be. We're again trying to be flexible. We would potentially, I'm guessing, I don't know. One option is we just sell it to the town and the town develops it themselves. That to me is the most likely. I would think that would be the most interesting to the town, but I'm not in charge of the town. Or alternatively, potentially ground lease, but from a business standpoint, we would prefer a clean transaction.
Okay.
So, and again, nothing's done, but we're here just to try to give you a sense of what's going on and what we're thinking about.
If the town bowed out.
We would-
still proceed forward. with
We would probably be back to you. Or we would be back to you with a plan. Again, it's CA would probably, we've always talked about office, don't know. Or we would sell it to somebody else and they would do it, or it's another commercial use. But right now, we're sort of focused on seeing if things work through with the town, because we don't want to go out and do a deal with somebody else and have to undo that if the town's interested, because that would be our priority, is to try to, we've just always thought that worked well for the site.
That main sewer line. I read something somewhere that the county is saying you cannot build on that. Does that include roadways, parking lots, or just buildings?
Building on it or add to it?
Above it. That you can't build above it,
It's just buildings.
just buildings.
Buildings,
So you
yeah.
can put parking in
Yes.
driving lanes.
Yeah.
Can you draw on here and outline exactly where this 6.13 acre parcel is?
Shane, we got a marker. Oh, there's the blue one. He loves blue.
This is coming here. And that boundaries look different than this one. Here, I can highlight here, I think it's more clear, actually.
Well, I didn't stay on the plan. Stay on the plan. She's got a question.
Isn't that the same? That's the same method, it's the same
The
thing.
difference I'm seeing is when you saw me hesitate here. This is an updated version. The actual boundary is clear here. So. That is a parcel, that's a parcel, and in this portion, the right of way exists in the larger 6.13 acre. parcel. And then the right of way. I can use a separate color. The right of way defines.
Who's that right of way granted to?
We would assume that we would build the road to town specs. And then ultimately would be.
So nothing's been recorded, nothing's done.
No.
Correct.
No, so.
But this is a parcel,
Correct.
and
Then this is. the
the
parcel.
right of way is in a parcel.
Two separate persons.
This portion here.
I get that.
Yeah. is in-
This I get, okay,
Yeah.
so now I see where this is, and then, and I still don't quite understand what's happening down there. Of yours, I'm not sure that makes sense.
It's owned by Onondaga.
That meter is pointing to the highway boundary, which is that,
No, the only thing that's a little weird over here is the little cell tower lot,
right.
which is
It's an act.
why we call it separate parcels. Separate. I know what it is. It's an existing.
And to your point, I see what you're saying is that here,
Yeah, what
like we
is,
show here, we're the right of way boundary and the property boundary for the parcel are the same. Whereas here, we're showing the right of way within this
So
parcel.
this,
Is
this
a parcel.
is a parcel.
They're running across all this. Confused.
So this is one parcel and this is one parcel, not including the right of way.
But that's not a, that's just like,
That's the right way.
Just general comment. Because these right of ways haven't been approved, and this includes the northern and the southern, I don't like showing them on a map. To give somebody the idea that they are approved, they shouldn't be on this plan at all.
It's a proposal though, right, Rich? It's a proposal.
But they're gonna sell this to somebody else, and I don't want them to have the idea that this somehow has been approved. I don't know what they showed. the
I think
potential
we
buyer.
can wait it for discussion.
Just so we're, yeah, just so we're clear, okay?
Okay.
I mean, good point. Just so we're clear. We have not committed anything to the multifamily person related to these intersections. We
Okay.
put it there, we put it there because we keep showing it. So we wanted to be consistent. And if somebody's wanted to ask questions, which I think we're beyond about traffic and how it would work, that is a proposed solution. We absolutely understand. We are not asking you, and nor do we're not asking you to approve the traffic scenario in this up here. We're totally not doing
This. Trying to make sure that.
that. And he's not wrong.
Right. If the potential owner doesn't think. That's.
We've been very clear to everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
That's part of the deal that was coming down, right?
That this house is coming down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So again, and I feel, so this, what you just do, this doesn't close. So
It's defined as a highway boundary.
Oh, geez.
The highway boundary is very jog. This is important for our meeting.
well, right, I mean, it's, you can understand that it's been confusing.
Sure.
Yes.
For sure.
So,
And I think the most recent submission we delivered yesterday, 12 copies for everyone. Quick glance, these parcels are more defined, we believe. And then we also provided this neighbor's proposal.
So just to follow the paper,
and I'm sorry,
no,
so this piece is PB.
No, that's all.
No, yeah. This is right.
All of this.
All this is.
Yeah.
Yeah. As well as, and I won't highlight again, but this is. It's all.
It's all-
That's the
Got it,
CA.
all the way.
The CA we chopped up into pieces, we know what we want to do.
Where's the skull tower? Is this the skull tower?
Yeah.
No, man.
Sorry, Nick.
Cell towers on this small. Better. This parcel, this one here.
Yes, it's our.
This is still all part of, yeah. Yeah,
It's Dagar and
correct. And yeah, they don't own the property. And there's no. Change of use.
They're looking at map SP one, I'm looking at SP two, but it shows the roadway being part of the 6.13.
They just changed it here.
That's what it's.
That's what we just had.
Well,
And you do, the most recent package is just a little together and.
So,
I'm looking at the 60 acres, and it looks like this is the property line. Correct. But that's not what you're showing there.
No, there's an error. That's to be marked in blue.
This is there.
Yeah, there's one that, this is a parcel. This parcel is just with the right of way boundary, so that should be through us by there. I mean, that would be okay here.
so part of, right,
This blue line should.
so we submitted drawings Then we had the last meeting and we were told, if you get in the new plan. The compared,
That was close.
the compared the two, the proposed, the existing and the proposed. Subdivision, then the public hearing would get scheduled for the 28th, so we submitted the plan. Then we cleaned up the earlier submission, and that's what came in.
So this site plan that you'd be looking to move forward with. It does not include the 6 acres, but it includes all the
So
others.
there's 3 lots.
That's right.
Off the original survey. There's 6 lots. Right,
And now.
off the original, so what we talked about at the last meeting was, we need a subdivision there. If there's 6 lots, you're going to 7. And then we talked about.
That was the overlay, right? Hmm?
So in the most recent submission, what they're looking at over here.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, thanks. Hold on, wait, till he's done.
4, 6, 7.
Yeah.
But if you go here. Right,
Tax man.
yeah. So you need a subdivision on lot. Tax parcel is lot 6, right? That's what you need to do. You can come lot subdivision. And then 5 is either 2 or 3 or 4 on subdivision. Same with 4. 2 looks like it stays. That becomes part of something else, so that's not gets incorporated into that.
So I think we can do it all in one map since they own it all, so that's what I'm doing. And then we'll call it the
We're getting short.
Twin Shores subdivision.
And then a dotted line,
Mhm.
Right.
before they're getting changed.
So,
I think so, because we tried to do that.
With this
Right.
most recent submission.
So, hold on, just bear with me. So this was the existing plan, right? This is what we're asking you to do. And then we were told to show the 2, one over the other, and this we also submitted here.
so. It's some, yeah, well, somebody did the map with the.
This,
Yeah, when we have a look at it.
yeah, so Shane, why don't you walk through this, but basically, right, here's that 7 parcel. There's the 6. This was split, right?
Correct.
Okay, so this was one parcel before. The 7 and, sorry, yeah, 7 and 6 was one parcel before. So the lines don't, I mean, obviously they change. You know, we rezoned, we moved some lines because it's been guidance we've received.
So,
We're doing the small lots. We're kind of, can get to that. We're doing the small ones because those will be separate tenants. And, you know, we expect to have, you know, we're gonna probably build them, maybe somebody else will, but there'll probably be construction financing, so the bank will want to put a lien on it. If Bank A does one building, they'll want to lien that separately, and this is the same thing that's been done. We don't want to compare to somebody else, but it's the same thing that was done across the street. Okay, thank you, bailed me out, because that was all I knew. So I got to the end of what I knew. So, you know, that's,
Excuse me, John, on
Yeah.
this map, where I'm having trouble seeing what are the current lots?
Okay, so the magenta here, and if we could backtrack to the beginning of this. So this is strictly the existing here. So we have one large one
Mhm.
here. 2. 3 is the larger here, and then this leader is pointing to the smaller lot there with the homes. This lot, and then this lot.
And those magenta lines are the magenta lines on this plan.
Correct,
They're the same ones matched with the magic of CAD. They're on this plan.
correct.
Great, so. We need black and white. Okay,
Okay,
so for filing at the county clerk's office
yeah,
and what was the lines are gonna be dotted. Like whatever lines you're erasing and the new tax map parcels will be the solid. Okay. So now, the question, now that we actually understand this, and I'm gonna tell you, it's been a battle. I get it.
we appreciate that. We appreciate it.
Now, this is, you know, Joe's gonna kind of take over on this, but, and for the board, is this a reasonable configuration of these parcels? And that's not a me thing, but that's a board thing. And, we need to also make sure that they meet, you know, the criterion of the CA as far as density and, you know, whatever, right?
Well, hopefully we did the engineering right, and the answer to the second one is yes.
Jamie, does that include the buildings?
Well, we would like to have a reasonable understanding of what's going to be on there.
So what we thought, and maybe we can resolve this, is what we thought we were doing was asking for approval for layout, subdivision, all the things I said at the beginning. We fully anticipate that when we get a tenant executed, a lease executed, and do their drawings, we would have to come back to you and say, okay, here is tenant A, here is a rendering of it, here is an elevation of it. Is this okay? Because obviously this is two-dimensional. We're not going to come back and try to say, oh, we'd like a 100-foot building here. So we know we have to comply with the regs, but you know, in order to do our process, we wanted, you know, I mean, to us, we thought that was the normal way we do it in other places. Here's what we're talking about. These are small commercial uses. And when we have a specific tenant, we'll come back, you know, you'll see the name of the tenant, you know, because you're going to ask, what's the materials, right? And then you'll ask all those questions. Again, you know, we've obviously created some, you know, it's us. We've created some confusion with saying things, and things will change as we go through the process. We didn't want to do that again and say, oh, here's a rendering, and then, you know, we sign up a national tenant and they go, no, our building is blue, it's not red, you know, or whatever. And it's, so that's what, so hopefully that works for you, that, you know, you would, in a perfect world for us, you would approve the site plan with the condition that we come back with tenant renderings and building elevation.
So each one of these separate parcels that are commercial, you're proposing that all the attention would be on that parcel, whatever they need, or are you thinking you put it in a common area or something? Oh,
Stormwater wise.
Stormwater,
This parcel here would have its own system.
and this is on the submittal. what you
Which
tell me.
parcel?
Okay,
What
So
number?
the southern, parcel number 1
Okay.
would have its own subsurface detention system and water quality treatment unit that would discharge offsite towards the limestone creek area. The creek is. The remainder of the commercial collects. This time
okay.
And obviously there'd be drainage units required, you know, between the parcels and whatnot, but
So there'd be some easements that go across.
yeah.
Get there.
Can I ask a question? I'm just like, sorry, I'm gonna go in order. You went through parcels 7, 6, and 5, and then you just said the other 4 commercial. Can you just quickly go through 4, 3, 2, 1?
Yep.
As far as what the idea is for each of those? Four people.
yeah, and so 5 is what we talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
And then, 1, 2, and 3 would be, oh, I know it's confusing, because we can get all the way through. Excellent, thank you. Those would be 3 individual commercial buildings, small, probably food uses. Parcel 4, which we didn't get to, the one along the street, the little tiny one. You may remember we came in and we talked about putting up a sign.
Oh, yeah.
And then we received some guidance from the board that suggested. Well, so you guys weren't big on that.
No, but we weren't at.
And honestly, in fairness, well, it's not. We probably had not done enough due diligence on that before we came here talking about it in terms of stop process and everything, so we're not proposing anything in that little thing. That's why, when he talks about what we're doing and all that.
Yeah.
So that
Because
little
there's
parcel,
something on there. Is that the one where there's something on there? No,
By the houses.
oh, you need a house?
but
There's a couple of houses that are,
So no more movie.
why is it being subdivided out?
I'm just
Why
trying
is
to
it?
up with what the heck.
because the sign. When our idea of the sign was it was gonna be a separate entity, that's, again, potentially. This gets sold. The sign wasn't necessarily gonna go, imagine if we had if it were to get approved, you had the sign that we had described. The town, for example, probably wouldn't wanna buy it. If they were gonna buy their lot, if the town was gonna buy parcel 5. If we included that parcel in it, the town probably doesn't have any interest in that sign, so we just carved it out separately. We dropped that from the package to you, we dropped that to the package to the county and said,
So why is it still a separate person?
because we may come back with it down the road. But we'd have to start over with you, and we need to understand what the process is first. Do we need to potentially have to go to the town board for some? I don't know, zoning, we don't know,
I
so.
think as far as this board is concerned, that's just not gonna be a permitted lot. It's not a lot that is buildable in any manner for commercial
And I would,
purposes.
I would probably suggest to add it to part of lot 5, expand it, so that it would be useful.
So you're saying you're saying that wouldn't comply
Correct.
with, okay, so.
0.09 acres.
You couldn't, we can't create a lot that can't be used for a commercial purpose.
Let me ask you the question, could it be, is there a scenario under which it could be done if variances received or something we got approvals to do it? Or are you saying it's impossible for that to
I
happen?
mean, let's go to ZBA to get an approval of a lot.
Of a
this
sign.
size.
If we were doing a sign there,
So it's, a sign is not an allowed use.
Yeah.
As an individual use,
yes,
period. It's
Yeah.
not allowed.
Yeah.
You can't get a variance for it. You can't, it would take some super active town board.
you mean
action.
a sign without being associated with a building?
Correct.
That's what you want to.
On its own.
Correct.
It could be on a part of another.
And it's not a variance issue. It's just not allowed, right?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Well, that's why last time we were here, again, it became clear to us that if we wanted to do something like that, we would probably have to go to the town board to start a process to get permission, which would change code and,
It would be a thing.
it would, there's no question. We got that. Let me ask you this question. Yeah.
The supervisor was
yeah.
here, but he left. Okay. But if you want.
Would you be okay if we left that as is?
No.
Recognizing that we know we would have to do a thing to get something approved there.
No, because this board can't, understand, I'm the planning board.
Yeah, I got
attorney,
you.
right? There's
Yeah,
other
I got that figured
attorneys
out.
who do that, so, this board would not be allowed to create that kind of lot, because what you're asking this board to do within their purview is create lots that are buildable, that are in accordance with the code.
Okay,
So my
okay,
recommendation would be if you want your subdivision, take that out, and then if you
Yeah.
think you can get something later, then do that. Is this one?
I would do this. I would.
we got some head nods and it's good we could bring it all together.
Well,
You
this
know.
was so important, really. We weren't, nobody's trying to drag anybody around here, that, because there's a lot of, it's a lot, right, to do it in like.
Everybody say goodbye to parcel 4.
And if you went to the town board asking them to change the town law, I think you get a lot of opposition.
Just so we're clear, in case anybody's listening, we're not saying we're doing that.
Yeah.
I started
You were
off by saying
I
we
get
had not done. We need to do, where we came with the sign, we probably should have done more due diligence, and we probably would have then come and started this whole thing, so parcel 4 is gonna get rolled into another parcel. And I guess it's only got one parcel to go to, right?
Yes.
It's gotta go to parcel 5, right? Uh-huh.
Can't hop over.
I guess the
Bridge, but
the other option would be to make it bigger.
Yes.
yeah,
But it's not my decision, I'm just raising that as you can take some parcel 5, add to that.
you would be okay if we did that?
That's a good idea. I like that.
Troublemaker. Well, I'm just thinking of that, you know.
I think the other thing you gotta look at, Rich.
Well, we need to see what our.
Yeah, Rich, you gotta, the other thing you gotta look at, and Jamie, that what I just showed you, right? I'm not sure, when I read CA, it goes back to neighborhood shopping. And then it goes back to R3, where it talks about frontages and size of lots. I think that's how it works.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the way that we understood it was that language was specific to use. You're saying,
Yeah, I don't know. If I put it out there, shit.
it's definitely, it's semantics for sure, because we were, I myself looked at it where it seems like the language about reverting back to neighborhood shopping and I agree is related to use. Not-
It's CA, so you have to do CA zoning, it's our setbacks. Yeah, right, but there could be some things in neighborhood shopping that grab a use permit, right? But that's for the attorneys to.
Yeah.
So Shane, could we take this and expand it here and make another lot here? We could, right?
Sure.
But we don't want to mess up frontage or anything else. For this. Right?
Well, and if this became a dedicated town road, then frontage for this parcel would be, along this
Okay, well,
road.
we can't assume that,
Yeah.
because as they said, that,
And
I have a lot of things on my mind. I'm kind of skipping here, but I would want to make sure that, when anything is developed here, whatever the person that's developed, is that this road gives appropriate access all the way, like not in header, that end here.
Which raises another good point that you're not gonna get access to the North Bergen, so every one of those parcels that we're looking at have to get access internally.
Every one of which,
These parcel 1, 2, and 3. They're not able on their own get access to the Bergen. So all the access has to be internal.
which would be provided through a cross-access agreement from a most likely private road system. It's depicted on the site plan.
You wanna look at this one?
Sure.
So this is the sheet that's in the packet, right? It goes to the front. You wanna, do you have another? Do you have another copy of this? Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. So these guys,
We're gonna try to bring it up and just check with the board.
okay, well,
We're looking at, definitely because we're all looking.
yeah, okay.
If you could tell me that was strong.
SP two.
So that, so you're talking about access. Yeah.
So
Access, right in, right out.
I read that, they don't.
Okay, so. we just-
no, that's not true.
Hold on, okay, hold on.
But they revised it.
Jeremy gets the-
They revised it, sent back to say, we removed that, that was removed in a revision.
They
That was a mistake in the letter that came.
Rich, they thought they were talking about the one way up, the one you said you didn't like.
The one you said you weren't so
Yes.
is the one they talked about not approving the meeting, and when they typed it for minutes, they put it in the fall, and they said, whoops. So that's why it came out. That was the only thing that changed in the second
And that's the only.
version of that letter.
That's good.
Okay,
So depending what you do with this, it may modify this rule over there.
yeah.
11/16.
That's-
Yes.
Yeah, well, we were working on the
Not-
boundaries, yeah.
Give the whole, yeah.
We're trying to address the lots first.
not-
Right. I'm just gonna throw this out.
Yeah, that's the same thing.
We are trying to do things that are aesthetically pleasing in the
Yeah.
community.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we try to do periodically is put the parking lots behind the building. Like this scenario right here, that's ideal in accordance with what we try to do. These two here, the parking lots are gonna be very visible from Burdick Street. And have you given any thought to possibly of modifying this so that it's similar to this one here, those two? Or is that gonna be a problem?
Yeah, that would be a problem with the drive-through layout.
Plus,
That allows for the stacking for the tenants that we're talking to. So if you were to spin it, we can't get the appropriate requirement they're requesting of us for stacking for the cars. That's why they see how the queue is here. The cars can come in, it doesn't bottleneck the main road, it doesn't bottleneck North Burdick.
Okay.
So the cars can come in, they can stack, then go to a single order point and then come through. And it also allows for the cars to come around. So if there's a car that all of a sudden doesn't want to order, if one breaks down, you can get it in this line and get it out. So specifically, it meets their queuing and keeps the cars out of the parking field, keeps the cars from stacking up into the road or into North Burdick Street. So that was a special request.
I guess, maybe some type of a berm or plantings or something kind of block.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
I'm only one vote, as Rich said. But I'm gonna go out and say, just my piece, that I just thought we were gonna kind of do something different with this property. I didn't know we were gonna be mirroring town center with just drive-through fast food restaurants, so I'm a little disappointed in what the potential this property had for the type of uses that everybody was talking about originally. To just mirror the same kind of parking lot drive-through.
What's wrong with that?
I just thought we were gonna do something, like when we were talking mixed use, residential, commercial.
Well, this is the
I thought-
commercial portion.
Yeah, I just thought we were gonna do
The rest
something
is-
different, like other towns and villages that are doing these days, instead of just the traditional upstate New York drive-throughs. But that's just I'm just,
Well, I guess the whole parcel will be what you're describing.
yeah, I guess I thought it was gonna be more mixed and like more blended and like. Just what, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, we're just kind of putting another town center over there with some apartments. I know, I'm just saying, I'm just thinking a little more progressively instead of,
I'm thinking more conservatively, and I
and
think that's
that's a lot of.
I don't like, I'm still, I haven't gotten over the dentist office. This doesn't speak. I wasn't in on that. Well, I was, and I came up with the idea. Why don't we do this, let them have their building in the bag, screen it.
Yeah.
He said, okay. They said, okay. But it never got into the site planning. So they have just put 2 trees. Yeah. And that's it. I'm still working on it, but I've lost my hammer because it's not in site plan. So I've never given up.
Well, I think what we put it in this, very clearly that we need some good. A burn or trees or something, that has to be. Stated. Right?
Yeah, it would be, it would be. I'm like Arnie though, I'm still upset about the dentist office. I remember somebody asked me to have parking behind the building and not in front of it.
Somebody named.
Well, the good news is we did it to the side here. We explained why we needed that with the drive-through, and we can,
Yeah.
you know, you'll word it somehow, I'm sure, but, you know, we are totally fine. We can. I don't know why we put the little trees here and didn't put trees here, you know.
Wasn't that more RM?
It is our.
This is.
I mean, we're happy to, it's been helping, I mean, I don't think anybody has a problem adding bushes and
Greening
and stuff.
for aesthetic, making a nice drive for people to go alongside.
But you're right.
Well, some towns don't allow drive-throughs in front areas.
Some don't, it's all dragons at all.
This is proposed.
I mean, the other side of the coin is, it's 130 acres and we're. You know, admittedly, there's ponds and stuff in it, but we're not trying to. Jam in a lot of stuff. We hope we get a municipal building and. Or an office building and then it's multifamily.
Well, I think the other idea too is because it's 3 separate parcels, which I understand, you've got 3 separate potential tenants, but now you've got 3 separated buildings, and you've got 3 large parking and drive-through.
Yeah.
So it's just like a
That's
lot
what
of,
TA is all about.
I know,
This.
I know. Yeah,
We, I don't think we could do that anyway. I mean, that would be nice to have apartments above the commercial, but in the code right now, we can't.
no, and the zoning that we're in.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Yeah. That, I mean, that would be nice for another part maybe, but that would
Yeah.
involve an overlay area.
We talked about stormwater being on the individual lots. This treatment facility is that on, I can't tell.
So that is on this would be, again, this would be. This would be on parcel 5, which would be.
So what you explained before wasn't accurate, there will be some facilities on public properties.
If that's what we said, if that's what you heard, then you're right. What we thought we said and what we should have said and what we're now saying is that the drainage for it is in some cases on the parcel, but otherwise will be shared off and there'll be easements between that are needed between the different separate. Yeah.
And it has to be very clear who's responsible for any.
Oh, yeah.
We can schedule. Okay. And that, it may not be like that when you find it, I think you filter it out and come back to it.
But that, there- yeah, I'm pretty sure that what EDA lays out for the comprehensive drainage and what we get approved for, you know, the tenants are gonna.
And that's.
Which they will.
Operation and agreements would be in place with the town as part of the meeting. Close up that key to that. And also.
One of the property, the owner, and there's where responsible, if someone doesn't do it, you just charge them that.
Correct. John, do you have any idea why the town decided not to go with their building?
I'm gonna give you a big, no, but I don't, we were trying to, I think the reason why it went from the back to the front was just because, you know, they like the idea of it being up there, and from our standpoint, it was fine, we could do the multifamily in the back off of Burdick. Well, I don't know if the, you know, the other, I don't know if the pricing, I don't know the business deal. I should say, I know what it was. I don't know if that was part of it, but they decided to look at other places off of our site, and now we're back talking.
Yeah, I forget the reason for that.
Yeah, it had to do, John, with county DOT. They had recommended that some of the multifamily approach Burdick Street, so to have a more cohesive road run in, and if we obliged with what county DOT recommended, then we couldn't put the building there to the municipality.
Yeah, but from the towns, but
And that was,
but from a town standpoint, we didn't tell them they couldn't put it.
No, that's right.
Yeah, it was, so the county made their recommendations, we had ours, the town made their decision separate, the town wanted it there. We'd be talking.
And there's still a negotiation as far as.
Up in parcel 5.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so a couple things. Thing number one. Parcel 4 will not stand as is.
Correct.
And rather than just going automatically and saying we're gonna expand parcel 4 and make it bigger into parcel 5. You need to make sure you've got a size that's capable of functioning independently. I'm not sure that if you do what you think you're doing here, that you're gonna have enough size to do that, so
Gotcha.
double check that.
Yeah, got it.
But what is acceptable is making parcel 5 bigger to include parcel 4,
Yes.
right?
Oh, that would be fine.
Yeah.
That should not be an issue.
Okay.
Second thing, I promised Mr. Serio that if he got the paperwork in, we would put them on for public hearing on November 28th. So we're on for a public hearing on November 28th.
Thank you.
But
But we gotta get the dotted.
an appropriate subdivision map,
Yep.
this isn't yet.
What you want, the dotted and the solid.
Correct,
Right.
and I haven't looked at whether if you can just make sure you look at the code, because I haven't had a chance to do it against this map.
Yep.
That every single thing you need on a subdivision map is on here, because then you have to redo that.
Okay.
So please check that, and I will be doing the same.
Is there a certain date, if we're doing the public hearing for the public, that a final plan has to be in so that the public has time to review it? Be prepared to attend the public hearing and comment.
We could keep it open.
No, there isn't. There isn't. I mean, it's gotta be noticed.
So like things could be turned in like 10 minutes before the public hearing. I'm just.
Theoretically, but they wouldn't do that to us.
Right, that's right. We're not. For purposes of the law, yes, we could bring it to you. You can make your own rules as a board to not allow that, which, we wouldn't do that.
And the later it comes in, the closer it comes into the date, the more likely it is that we will keep the public hearing open
Okay.
for further discussion at a later time. We are referring it to county immediately,
Yep.
based upon what you've given us. We will not hear back in time for our meeting in December.
I don't think we should do the seeker until.
Till we see the final plan.
Yeah, well, and yes, and probably, we can have a public hearing and talk about seeker before the decision. You might want to talk about it, but not actually do it.
Actually, what we decided to do with Timmy recommended that we proceed forward with a seeker, and it would be a preliminary seeker, and that we can amend a seeker at a later time based upon any changes that come in. Tim recommended that.
Yes.
About my.
Can I just, then maybe, sorry, what, you're referring to the county,
Yes,
Yes,
what are you referring to the county when?
subdivision plan.
Okay,
Yeah,
with their recommendations.
So
so
when,
they didn't,
What was all that?
they already, didn't, that already happened, the county Tom clarified, they already looked at the planning board.
At the subdivision,
Yeah,
about the preliminary subdivision,
yeah.
which plan?
October 27th.
So the-
The one that went to county planning was this one here.
The final one. It doesn't obviously.
Well, there was October 25th.
Did it go, Lisa?
I do have the
Yes, it did.
preliminary
Yeah, it did.
subdivision from November 9th. They sent like 6 pages back. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet.
We need to send it again when they do the amendment.
Depends on how, I don't know what it said.
This plan here. We broke it up into 3 post county comment.
What we've been talking about, this set that we've been talking about today. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is what went to the county.
County received just this sheet,
Okay,
and then we broke it into the multiple layers for conversation with the town.
okay.
So this was
So the plan that showed both went to the county.
Yes.
And they already defined.
And the only changes are separating them out. This
Yeah,
sheet here
yeah,
is
yeah,
exactly
yeah.
what they come
Okay.
with.
Yeah. I think. You know, I think it'd be good. Could look at the reciprocal agreement between is the all lots, the they want because that.
It would be, but the problem with it is.
So we're talking about making that right of way as it's shown, a dedicated, a right of way on the subdivision. So, and then, you know, if it gets changed, it gets changed, but so if somebody looks at the subdivision map, they're gonna buy a parcel, they'll be like, this has the right of way. So once it's on the map, it's on the map. But no, I'm talking about, you know. You don't want to create, you're creating a landlocked parcel.
Here's the southern one right there.
Well, right. No, I was looking at.
Can't do more than that because we don't know how they're gonna develop the interior.
Well, we
This-
know they
this is-
can't get there.
This is not. We've already said this isn't what we're doing, right? Right. Just because it was confusing to people, that people thought we were asking for permission to do this.
What you want. Permission.
Yeah.
Oh, it's part, but it's part of. Which parcel number is that?
The
Oh, it's part of
figure
this.
them up,
It's part of this.
yeah.
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 Okay, so they have their own access
Yeah.
here, but this parcel. Doesn't have any access. They have to have access, but we're creating a landlocked parcel. This has to do.
So what they're talking about.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
They propose, right away or access agreement between the two of them.
Not, I think it needs to be on the map, that
Shane,
otherwise this is, we can't wait for reciprocal easement.
in this,
We could extend the right way.
we do that.
So that basically this would front.
Would that solve that?
So,
Easements out there, Jamie?
but they don't, no, because
Oh, actually-
we're subdividing,
actually-
we're not looking at any of that. We're only looking at the subdivision.
Since they can't get access to.
So we cannot create a landlocked parcel.
Can I ask you this question? This
And then-
parcel is 7, right?
It technically does have frontage
You
down
know,
here.
frontage up here.
Yeah. Not realistically. That's a,
It goes all the way around.
this is. That's water.
This is,
What's,
oh, how would you get from here to there? All right, I'm just,
it's,
you're right,
can't get there.
absolutely. Does that solve Just
I
extending the
have
right of way?
to see what,
it? Length of it?
I have to see what the, requirement is for road frontage in RA, right, so. There might be, if this,
I believe it's.
RA requires.
150 feet.
Yeah, we were at a, and
Minimum.
request was to reduce this.
But if you have. Well, after right away. Different, so. Well, I'm just thinking that.
We would have had one of the creators on it.
Well,
The road on this side. and the other way.
I'm just saying, this person may not.
That would solve that.
so that they would have frontage, even, I mean, is it frontage on a public road or a right of way? That's the question.
Can't build it, can't build next to that. Except for that.
How much land is there?
Here. It's a whole parcel.
No, they're talking about.
Oh.
Buildings.
No clue.
For what we want. That's a whole different subject.
This is. There's a lot of.
We've been down there.
So what we're talking about is that this right of way needs to be part of the subdivision now. It needs to show, and it would be fronting on the RA parcel.
Yeah.
So whoever gets this RA parcel.
You see any answers with that, Shane?
No, we
The box.
weren't sure.
Those are
So
yes or no question.
What's,
I guess I'm still concerned about the physical easement,
oh,
because we've got lots that don't have
that's,
access.
that site plan, we have to deal with all of that.
Yeah, right.
So
Okay.
you would make a condition that they have to have easement. Yeah,
And the public hearing is just subdivision.
well, subdivision and site plan approval, right?
No, we're not even close to that.
Okay.
Yeah, this needs to, I mean, we'll look at it simultaneously, but. I don't think anybody's looked at that in a real realistic way.
So you wouldn't have you wouldn't have the hearing and get comments on the site plan? And then
What site?
the site plan was submitted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that may not be what it ends up being.
Why? I mean, I get that the subdivision plan, we're gonna make some tweaks to it and get that back in. We're doing that. I thought, and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that the public hearing would be, you would get public comment on the site plan that's been submitted. And then, you know, you deliberate and. take
Are
whatever
you
time
saying
you get.
this is your site plan?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that the board has not really discussed it, though. The site plan, that's the problem. So we wouldn't want to bring it to the public until it was ready or.
There was a
what the
brief
board likes.
presentation on that one here.
We haven't seen that with, information of the design.
Well, we know we would have, if we get site plan approval, then we know we'd have to come back with elevations once we know the tenant.
You do that before.
No, you have to have the whole thing. It's a whole package.
So how do we do that if we don't know who the, so
You have to.
we have to have all, you're saying we would need to have all three of our leases done before we can do site plan?
No, really, once you get your subdivision,
Yeah,
you can come in with one.
So you want the subdivision approval first, right?
If you have one ready, whenever it's ready, then come in and we'll make sure at that point, all the reciprocal easements and so forth are in place. But the first thing is the subdivision, which I think we pretty much hashed out, and it was not a small list.
thank you for that.
It's not a
Thank you
small
for
list,
that.
that's why we're here, everybody.
Yeah.
We're like, this is my real job, but it's not their real job. So,
Parcel 4 is still open there. As to what you guys have finally decided on.
They're gonna modify it.
Yeah, that'll be.
Right, but I'm just saying.
No, their point
As of
well
right
taken.
now,
Are we making 4 go away, be part of 5, or are we gonna try to make 4 bigger? In order to make 4 bigger, we have to
Yeah.
make sure it's big enough. Okay.
Because am I correct, that you guys don't have a final decision? As of today, right now?
The answer to that is yes, because we would like to make it bigger, but we need to make sure the engineering works. So, okay, so there's no way you could get, just thinking of timing and process, so you can't get public input on the site plan until you have an opportunity to study it and
And a real site
understand
plan
it
and elevation.
on the site plan.
Right.
And okay, and just so we're clear, before we can get site plan approval, the board will require elevations
Engineering,
on at least one building.
well, whichever building you bring, that's the only one that would be approved by site.
You'd have to come back to the next one and the next one after that.
And so, but when we did the first one, theoretically, we'd be approving the drainage and the traffic and all that sort.
Correct.
Probably.
Landscape.
Yeah.
Would they need a separate SWIP for each one of those as they came in?
It depends on whether,
Yeah, like Jamie's saying. it
whatever you
depends, right?
see.
Depends on what the assumptions are.
That's my.
And then we would have to go,
Yeah, well, no, I mean, it's, we don't know what the,
continue going down.
The problem again is you don't have the particular builder who wants to develop it. So we don't know the specifications, we don't know the design of the building, we don't know elevations. We don't.
Correct, I
We don't
agree.
get any of that in order to go forward with the
We-
site plan.
Okay, so we thought that basically you would approve. You would be willing to approve, or you could approve, more of a two-dimension, not the elevation site plan. You're saying that, no.
Yeah, that's not what we do,
That's
but
We've never done
these were important for determining if this subdivision works, so.
Yes, yeah.
Right, for the orderly development of the land, which is why we're talking about that other lot, like, maybe you can build something, an RC on your, whatever
So-
that is.
So on the 28th. Can you give us some, you're gonna open up, what do? We just show up, and if you wanna ask us a question, you ask us a question.
We can, if you
Okay.
want to have something said, you can say it. You may want to just say, hey, let them open the public hearing and see what the people are saying.
Yeah.
And then you could respond to them if they had questions.
Okay. So we'll be here and we'll just see what happens.
We'll walk you right through.
Okay, but we're not planning a presentation for that meeting.
The only thing I'm
Okay.
thinking is, it's gonna be,
I mean, it's
up-
not doing this.
whatever we talked about today, people are gonna look at, it's very close to the 28th. You know, by the time these plans, you change them, you get them here. Chair's putting it on a rush favor. And so there's not gonna be any more work sessions. The board's gonna be looking at it on their own and really seeing it for the first time on that night and hoping that what we've talked about here today, which is great and so productive. And I thank you for that.
Most
Yeah.
most of the time, someone comes and speaks for about 3 minutes and just
Gotcha.
lets the public know
And let us
what it
plan.
is you're intending to do.
We'll take up the ring.
Okay, here goes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe it's not quite a bit.
right. Hey, how long do you think that'll be before we can get this revision we talked about?
We will decide, we
They're
will,
gonna spend Thanksgiving Day,
no,
their turkey and looking at plans.
I mean, look, we can, we'll take it. He's gonna go back and figure out how big a parcel would need to be, then we're gonna look at it and, it's gonna take what? Till Tuesday. We'll be done. We would think next week we'll have a plan.
I'm going to make a recommendation.
Please do.
Don't try that. You can come back and get that piece subdivided out later,
Yeah.
right, Tom?
Yes, right, I agree. Just make that other one bigger. We can always come back.
And if somebody, like, if
Okay, you-
Phillips comes in a minute and wants to buy that piece, then you hurry up and they want to be everywhere.
Because you may have.
They
to
don't
do
have
that
spot
right
rates.
now.
Okay, just so we're clear,
Guys, fried chicken.
you two said opposite things.
No, we didn't.
You
No.
said subdivide out, take out, you think take 4 and put it with 5?
Correct.
Yes, okay, and you're saying make 4 bigger,
No,
make 5 bigger.
because we can always
That's what
come
we're
back.
gonna do.
We can always come back and
That's-
subdivide 5. So the only thing, so there really isn't gonna be anything new. The only thing we're changing is making 5 bigger.
So good
Right.
news. My-
And we're
my note is
changing-
right.
We're changing the lines.
4 to parcel 5, make bigger.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I just want to clarify what we're doing. We're making that one parcel bigger. We're changing the solid lines and the dotted lines, to what you said for the subdivision. Our surveyor is gonna make a plat available, the subdivision
One thing we
Correct.
looked at, unless we do this, the road.
and the road, the
It's
easement to the
gonna, it's
road,
gonna,
right?
and it's going to be marked as an easement in favor of.
Okay.
Mark it as-
that, right? Dave, got that?
Just call it right of way, call it right of way access easement in favor of lot. Blah, blah, blah.
So on that meeting, for the public meeting that we're coming to, we're just gonna give an update. Can we expect a subdivision approval, a pre-approval, or not?
I think there,
I think we may be in a position to make a determination. That's a kind of busy night. We have 3 public hearings. Depending on what we see.
Yeah, okay. Yep, sure, good enough, thank you.
Thank you all for your time. We realize this is a little unusual, but thank you for giving us a chance to attempt to clarify it.
no, thank you, John. And it's a process.
Oh, thanks.
The chair was
We like.
strong armed everybody to be here this morning.
We wanted to come in.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, and we appreciate your guys helping us understand how you want us to do things. Obviously, yeah. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. See you in a couple of weeks. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Well, we probably be done before 10. So we are, we're done. Good. Motion to adjourn. Made by Ed, second by you. And all in favor?